recrafting of how we present ourselves. Got it.
Yeah, and then we don't get lost with going out of bounds with topics.
Right. And we can really
Okay,
focus
we
in
are
now. So,
live. We are
okay.
live. Welcome everyone. We're just getting rolling here.
Send me
So
the
we're gonna wait
chat.
for a few people to
Yeah.
come in here.
Send me the link and I'll put it up.
Excellent. So we are getting this link ready. Copy. Okay. So I'm just sharing the show link to Tom right now so he could
Perfect.
distribute on social media.
Got it.
But yeah, welcome everyone. We're here on March 9th, Saturday, 2024. We're getting through the 20s, and it's I don't know, we're finding a lot of good stuff lately, especially this past month,
Mm-hmm.
and since the last time that we were here. So were you able to see the chat that I sent you with the show link? Were you able
Yep,
to
I
see
got
that
it.
here?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. So we are good to roll on that. And I'm just gonna
Awesome.
see if Elon lets me get on. There's some news about him too, which is pretty interesting. So let's get there.
Yeah, we have a few things to talk about today. Um, Sorry for the light again. What the heck is going on here? But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the that movie by J.J. Abrams. The director, I couldn't remember his name last time, but he's the culprit for all this stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
J.J. Abrams, bad reboot. The band everybody in Hollywood goes to when their ideas are stale and they need to pepper a little bit of spice onto it. That is J.J. Abrams. And he's the one that put together the reboot Star Trek franchise. And the first one was okay. Like it was visually cool, as it's a lot of these sci-fi movies are. But then they made Star Trek Into Darkness, and I didn't really watch that. I didn't go to the theater, but they used this film as well to insert more of Tom's story and his. I mean, both his script and his life, which is they tend to put a lot of that into these projects, and it's usually always the same people.
Right,
And
right. Same
one of the
players.
biggest culprits is Spielberg, right? It's
Yeah,
Spielberg,
absolutely.
Nolan, and whoever. You just want to say Disney and Warner Brothers because those are
They're
the
in
big head
there, yeah.
honchos.
And then they kept spreading it. They kept spreading it. Well, they're not going to let me. Elon's not going to let me get on Twitter. Oh well, I was going to get on and then it switched it, so I can't get on
Were,
Twitter again.
were you able to share the link at least?
Nope, I can't get on Twitter. So he's
Ah,
not. He's not gonna let me on. Like I was. It showed that I could, and then it just switched me off.
you
So
know what? I'm
he's
going to tag you.
yeah. Tag me on it because I can't get on. But I figured that would happen. He's really upset right now. Like when he did that gray meme thing, where like how am I evil with the Neuralink? So yeah, he's not happy with me right now. And in fact, he's doing an insult. Sarah Westall let me know. Get this for those listening. Sarah Westall sent me an email, and she said that she showed me that Elon Musk is saying now that the Matrix story I wrote instilled fear in the world and that it's bad. I'm like, what? You got the tech from my story, and now you're saying the story's created fear. It's like that is desperation. I mean, to go that far to suggest that the Matrix itself has done a disservice to the world. That's what saved his career. So he's trying to distance himself, apparently, from the theft, but by putting down the work. It's insane. Anyway, yeah, I can't get onto my account.
It's like as long as
So
they're not able to take credit for something. They don't want anybody to experience your work, basically. I mean,
well, Pat Robertson did the same thing. Now, they're very concerned about name credit being restored. right, to us. So obviously we have the copyright, we have the proofs, and one gentleman apparently said through you or on your thread, you know, that we were always the story never changes. That was sort of an insult, and it's like, well, of course the story doesn't change. If you're telling the truth, you're going to be consistent. That's part of the whole thing with interrogations and what's supposed to be a legal system. So it's like if you are consistent, that should be a good thing. If your story changes, that shows you're lying. But they're even doing that. So they're sending these shills like that. But what's interesting is Pat Robertson actually made a comment that the Wachowskis are great writers, but The Matrix is poorly written. So what Pat Robertson was doing was saying Tom Althouse's work is bad. He's a bad writer, but the Wachowskis are good writers. But the Wachowskis get credit for The Matrix. But since Tom Althouse wrote The Matrix is badly written. What? So yeah, so they're trying to play it both ways. Now Elon Musk saying that The Matrix is bad is doing exactly what Pat Robertson did, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up at all. So what you have is that translates to desperation. Now they do have us blocked in the courts so far. They have Gary Klausner unreachable, right? And Kate Chilton, the exec that went in back in, was a legal attache for Warner Brothers that shut everything down in our case, was at my deposition. We saw that she went to Netflix to launder as soon as the case was thrown, and then back to being a judge at Superior Court. So what she's doing is blocking any access to Klausner that he would remove the with prejudice. Since there's all the evidence being shown, he was tempted to switch that judgment. And so we just learned recently that his clerk that was opening the door, Suzanne, to us addressing this, is dead. And they replaced it with this guy who's connected to Chilton. So you've got this amazing development now where, like Joel Silver murdering the assistant, his assistant, top assistant, on that trip, that wedding trip, where she was going to talk
What
because she
year,
knew.
like around what year was that, you think?
We'll have to look it up again. Look it up
Okay.
again where Joel Silver's
See,
assistant's killed.
this is another thing I like about you, Tom. If you're not sure about an answer, you say so. So
Right,
you're
right.
not trying to make things up to like save face or anything. Like if you don't know, you don't know, and you say so. And that's also, I think, lends to a lot of your credibility.
Well, I
Because
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah,
My goal, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's clear between somebody who's making stuff up. Like we said, the story is going to change. Oh, I was thrown 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet. Like the story
110
would
feet.
change. The story would change that way. Yes, yes. And
Exactly. Then have C, spine crushed into a C and 5 hernias and lacerated knees and ripped up face and smack and then still
all the traumatizing stuff you don't remember.
right.
And that's that's realistic because the mind tends to just box stuff out that's traumatizing.
Well, if you're going to go over three
Mhm.
decades with your story, 3 decades, and continue with no money to show for it, in fact, being taxed for it and mocked for it, I think it may say something if your story hasn't changed, as we're doing, and you're coming forward and bringing all this forward, that it's not about the money, is it? It's
Nope.
about the truth out. And for your last living son, where you have two killed and your daughter estranged and working against you, your last son's life. So I think it makes sense that in the terms of human dynamics, that if you are going to continue on, there has to be a really good reason to. And calling someone crazy doesn't quite cut it, especially if you created the work. If you're crazy, you can't create the work. You wouldn't be able to focus, they say. You're what do they use the phrase, seriously physically impaired. If you're seriously physically impaired, can you create a blockbuster? Now they would argue, well, you didn't create it. Well, then what is this? It's in the Copyright Office. It's all there. And there's all those pages right there that are written. So why all the fuss from their side too? Why would they be on us like, a cat on a spider all these decades if there wasn't something they were afraid of that we had solid that we can bring forward?
Yeah,
you know?
I'll mention this. Are you seeing my screen right now?
Yes, yes.
This is my channel analytics for YouTube. They did reinstate me for monetization, but look at that.
Uh,
What am I going to afford for $9.62?
right,
That doesn't cover even buying like a dozen rolls of toilet paper.
right.
Like,
Well,
so
that's
what this is just so the past month act. Yeah, that's about the past month. It's $10. Thanks,
so
YouTube.
yeah, so the
I have
question is
no views coming
why
in.
so why are you doing it is the question for audiences. Why, Stephen, are you doing this if you're not making money off it? Would be a good question for audiences
Yeah. Why am I here?
because
Why am I doing this right now?
Mhm.
Well,
Right,
I grew up watching The Matrix. I've studied this trilogy longer and harder than anybody else should have, but I did it. And now I'm seeing why there were so many plot holes.
hmm
Every I don't mean to fawn over what you're saying, Tom. Like I do see that there's connections between everything with what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. And I'm not denying what you're saying.
See,
So
if you weren't doing this and others like you, what you would just dedicated to this, and it's like, in fact, you focused in on it, then they would succeed. And it's like they don't count in their playbook on someone actually dedicating themselves like you have and
it says
others.
there. Okay, yeah, like really quickly here. It says there's been 3 views in the past hour,
Hmm
and then we come here. There's 2 people watching, and one of them's probably me.
Right.
So where's the third person? I just don't get. They made it popped in and popped out.
hmm
But we're talking about three.
I know. See, that's the thing. What I got today was what we're actually doing when the piece was written, The Immortals, it was for future generations to whisper through art, right? And right now we're doing the same thing. Right now we're actually doing for future generations. And they'll see we didn't give up, like Aiden said, my last surviving son who's 17 now and made it. You know, it's like we didn't give up. And we're for future generations, they'll know the truth. And the other side's plan now that we got from the Q group relayed to us was that they were going to control the algorithms in the future by striking content. And so when anybody put in a question about, you say, the Matrix case, who really wrote the Matrix, it will not be able to access all the deleted content. And that's what they're working for now is that future group. But what you're doing right now is feeding that algorithm with content and protecting it where it will factor in. And in the future, when it's figured out through these algorithms, it'll show, yeah, here's the real writer. He's got the copyright. Here's the matchups, tribal issues. For Gary Klausner, the judge, this is a very big issue, appointed by Pat Robertson and Bush to give conservative decisions, they said, that would support Pat Robertson being a first class citizen, not a second class citizen. That was the purpose of his appointment. And so what you have is he's in a problem where one tribal issue showed, like Jack's the Neck, one of the things they were most concerned about, which is all through the Immortals, predating Matrix, right? Never mind that Tom Hanks claims it later that we found, which is great, that he was commissioned and ordered by Warner Brothers to steal the work, to write it, along with Wendy Wasserstein. But what you have is you've got this Jackson Neck itself is a tribal issue, which means Gary Clauser should never have stopped it in summary judgment and especially put with prejudice. He was bought. So Susanna's death is very significant because she was contacting between us back and forth saying, go ahead and submit and I'll get it to the judge. Well, Kate Chilton, what did she do? She's back in as a judge, isn't she? Out of retirement and make sure there's a new clerk. And where's Suzanne? Dead. So they are very concerned mostly about that particular thing. And what did my son Aiden say when he heard about this just this week? He said, keep going, keep going. And I am. It doesn't matter how many shills will mock. It's like we're going to keep going. Now, there's great people out there that get it all over this world, but they're not being shown, just like they're trying to block the algorithm. They're not going to show them viewing. They're not going to, I have people that say they try to post questions, they try to put comments, they try to put a heart, and it doesn't register. It won't register. So phone Russians, everything. They're desperate not to show any liking whatsoever. So if we operate from the standpoint of doing this for future generations, they don't. That's where the battleground is. But there are people that are getting it and watching it. We know that in the public. When we go in the public, and our name comes up, and this happens all the time. We go, "I've heard of you. I've heard of you." How have they heard of us if there's been no views?
Yeah, how is there 500? So sometimes on the reels ended up taking up all the view counts midsummer last year.
Mm-hmm.
A midsummer's night, yeah, a midsummer's night stream where I stream all night and then I get nothing, no views.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I post in the morning all the reels, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clicks, and it might even just be bots. I got 500 views on one reel, 3 comments on it, 1 like.
Right. What they'll do is too, we'll see the numbers decrease from like 2,000 some views initially in an hour to 0. We're being told by the opposition that they're watching everything we do. So, I mean, just the opposition's views alone. So what's interesting is we could write off these generations right now and just say, okay, they've been dumbed down. It doesn't matter what. It's almost like the conditioning of the more evidence we show, the more they're going to say it can't be. This can't be. And they don't realize it's conditioned that way. But the future generations will not be like that. They'll be like, what's the evidence? And they'll just be straightforward. It's already happening with a new generation coming forward, like my sons. They see it. In fact, my son said, we had a soccer dinner, right? Where we host a soccer team, varsity soccer team. And he said all the soccer players on the team were talking about that his dad wrote the Matrix story and us. And he's like, how did they know? They all knew. I would go to the stands at a soccer game and we were keeping everything quiet. And parents would come up and say, I've seen you on the air. It's like, what? And then when you were in that Walmart in Florida. So it's like, people have seen us everywhere and they know us everywhere. We're as well known as Snowden. And that's why Roseanne Barr calling and saying, I watch every show. If Roseanne Barr is watching every show, then that's, okay, 1 view. I think there's others watching too, especially when she was calling from Trump's home, Largo.
Yeah, let's while we're on the subject of no views, we're gonna go into Twitter here, and we're gonna see that my profile, I have 18 followers, but look at this, February 25th, 2 interactions, or not even interactions. It's just analytics for who viewed it. Okay, I said still at 1 view, and I tagged Elon, and this was for a post that I made before on the 24th with 1 view.
That might be what unnerved him, because it's like
1 view, 2 views,
yeah.
3 views, no interactions.
Right.
What's going on?
Well, I can't even get on Twitter. He's got me blocked on Twitter.
So this right here, we're going to play this now. This was an AI generated clip from our last interview. It has no views whatsoever. Yeah. What do they call it in New York or whatever they do? It's a bagel. 0.
They should put at least let a couple views go forward, because right now it stands out so much. When you put 0, that's overkill. So yeah,
I'm talking about you get the garbage result of the corporation buying the property and then just pumping stuff out to make a quick buck, not make a legacy with a story. And then you go out on and say the agency's FBI works directly with Hollywood studios.
True.
For intellectual property.
Right.
Now, when you see a film, you see the FBI, there's going to be penalties and fees for, the FBI is coming in charge of motion pictures, integrity and protection. This is exactly, I'm just quoting what you said.
Right.
AI put all of this on for the titles. It made it really fast generated, but there's errors. I don't like how, you have to still go in there and do some hands-on editing yourself, because it's a computer. It's only taking it's doing facial recognition and zooming in on the image, making it vertical, like top and bottom, and then putting this. But you see, there's no comments, no retweets, no likes, no views.
Send it
No
to
views.
send it to my Facebook. Share it to my Facebook, and I want to let people know, and we'll see if they unblock it at that point. So that would be interesting.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna stop screen share for right now.
because
But
I shared on my Facebook that we'd be doing this show, and people would be watching. They would watch. They would tune in and just see what's going on. So, you know,
and month after month, we can say, yeah, that video didn't do too well because of the content. But we have so many different topics we talk about. We have over 300 reels that are out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok decides to take down videos if I'm huffing on the vape juice here, the nicotine,
yeah, yeah,
the nicotine.
right. Well, that's interesting because they'll have somebody make a negative statement that's from the inside, and they'll allow them to get on to make the comment. Others are telling me they can't get on to make comments. So it's like very, very interesting. But yeah.
I do think we need to do that that new show. We were talking about doing some show about like modern man's place in today's world, like where we need to
Hmm.
go and all that. I think this
Hmm.
needs to be talked about. I also think we need to get the younger crowd on board with all of this. We need to get them to literally do all the stuff that the Wachowskis are saying in their movies.
Absolutely.
They're made up movies that they used your script for.
Well,
All the stuff
yeah,
about waking up, detaching for guess what? Unplug from the internet for a few days from your phone, from Instagram, from scrolling. I'm giving a public service announcement here briefly for all everybody else watching. Don't give in to your weaknesses, body weaknesses, your temptations. It goes into food, it goes even into sexuality. Make sure you are focused on what you want to accomplish, or else it's just going to keep on carrying to the next day, to the next, and then nothing's going to get done.
right.
It's as simple as that. But the main thing is we're being so distracted right now as as beings with souls. We are being bamboozled. We are being told that we're not as powerful as we are. And we're being suppressed. And we talked about this before. It's like we're being weighed down here.
Hmm.
We're not being let free. We are kind of slaves to whatever
Well,
this
it's
realm is for now.
when I
It's
wrote,
not
yeah,
forever. It's temporary.
when I wrote the
But yeah,
piece, I felt that it would advance society. I really felt like it would. I was so excited to bring forward this work that was whispering through art for future generations. And when Bonaventura was like, "We're making this as revolutionary," I thought, "Oh, here we go. We're going to change the world." And then they gave it to the Wachowskis, and right then it was a press, shut down everything, shut down,
no,
tear apart your family, tear apart your lives. And it's like, but the work is still there. So we still have proof we own the work, even if they bought Gary Klausner and their judgeships in Chilton Rest to say, prejudice, no, shut it down. Can't talk about it. And they even have relatives bought that or say, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Coming out publicly and telling me that at events. So the idea is completely shut it down like in Nazi Germany. But the work is done. It speaks. It has its message. People will want to see the original work to see if it's like the Matrix. And that's what they're saying. No one will want to see it. It's already used up. We already did it. They're saying they already did the Immortals.
there's a whole generation of people who have never even watched The Matrix.
Well, there's going to be the Immortals going to make everything clear. It's going
You
to
give
be
another
with
20 years, there's going to be full grown adults who have never watched the Wachowskis' work.
right. And with Tom Hanks' name on the copyright after our copyright, commissioned with
Mm.
Warner Brothers, commissioned in order to write it, I think that will be a great door opener for let's watch The Immortals that Tom Hanks is claiming with 3 pages and the one that's preceding it with 128 that he's trying to steal. Commissioned and ordered and commissioned by Warner Brothers, HBO, and
I'll
Warner
use
Brothers.
this analogy. They tried to burn the house down, but we had the goods in the safe, and it
Right. There's no way they
remained.
can stop it. No way can stop it. And so what we're doing is battling for the future with that the algorithms will show the truth and that future generations will know. This generation, the generations that have been, these 3 generations, um, whatever, whatever they want to believe. But the truth and the evidence will mean something in the future. And that's why we don't stop.
So it was
And every
really
time we do something,
that you bring up a good point. Like the the entirety of Hollywood is only about 3 or 4 generations long.
right.
Because okay, I should really know the year of this off the top of my head, but I don't. The first motion picture, it was in the 1800s. I want to say 1890s,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be as far back as the 1870s for all we know. You could, the I'm getting to a point here. These people want to live forever,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and it's your title, The Immortals. The story's
Mm-hmm.
all about
That's
that,
what
and that's
it's about.
probably
Right.
it's like flies to poop, that type of thing. They just went to your script. They're like, yes, yes, yes. This is what we want, and like they want to carry it out for real. But it's just a
Yeah.
story that you're
Mm-hmm.
telling about how to avoid these pitfalls, so to speak.
And the
But what was
Neuralink
your
is essential. Neuralink's essential in it.
what
Yeah.
was your your thoughts on immortality is what I want to ask you about. Like, where do you where do you sit in terms of immortality, if it's something that humanity should go through, if it's
Well,
something that we have as souls?
a good
So
storyteller leaves it open. And so what I did was I left it as, in the story treatment, because they tried to block the entire story treatment. They didn't want that in because it explains everything. So they tried to leave that out of the discovery process, blocking alternate dispute resolutions, which are court ordered. They blocked the ADRs, didn't even tell me about it. Another thing that Klausner should have been alerted to and said, this isn't right. It's not good process. He's supposed to be noted for adhering to process strictly. And a lot of lawyers complain about it, but he allowed everything to go off south on this and be cheated out. But the idea was that the greatest enemy of mankind is death, and they bring it up in Game of Thrones, in-house by Warner Brothers, so HBO and Warner Brothers, and so death is defeated. Now, what happens if we can defeat death, disease, everything else, longevity? But how do we get there? What do we experiment on to get there? And there you got the red pill, blood of the children, growth hormones. So it was not a pretty road to get there, not a good one. Then what happens is that immortality is used as a bargaining chip to institute a one world order by allowing all the top one elite to be part of the program. Now you get to see why they wanted to hijack the Matrix and take it away, especially since Neo is a lower echelon CIA operative, and Smith is one of the tops in the Central Intelligence Agency. That's how it opens up. Then you go to the future where they have the longevity and everything. They're on the program, and Smith becomes part of it. Not Central Intelligence Agency, becomes central, the governing body of the New World Order. They didn't want that out. But why would the FBI and the CIA and the other agencies want the film a blockbuster, as revolutionary as Bonaventura called it at the pitch session that was witnessed? Why would they want that out if the agencies are the bad guys in this country? Right. So that's not what they're going to allow. They'll allow films like Sound of Freedom, where it makes the agencies look like the good guys and almost powerless to stop things across the border. Anything they want to do for their PR campaigns. And but they don't want those stories to actually reveal what's going on with child trafficking, what's actually going on in this country with the agencies involved. Very simple. So generations of the future, I have a cold, are
God bless you.
going to get it. They're going to get it. They'll understand this completely, and there'll be no brainer. Yes, Tom Althouse wrote the work. Stephen saw this all through and did the great work, and they'll know it. And the other side knows that too. It's like Satan trying to buy time before the judgment comes. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. People are going to get it. So that's why in the future they'll see us doing these clips and going, "Why didn't anybody watch this?" And it'll be like, "We're very confident. We're very secure because we are addressing future audiences." And so a load of those that are born long after we're dead. And yes,
Okay.
we didn't, that's a good message. We didn't give up. We have the evidence. There's no refuting this. And I agree with you in the future, people watching in the future, that people in this time are idiots, that they don't get the evidence. They don't see the matchups, or what Gary Klausner did was criminal, and Kate Chilton and these other attorneys, what Bonaventura did by giving the work to the Wachowskis, that Tom Hanks is on the copyright, that the inserted material with a high school birthday, my dad's name, everything in the first graphic, Tom Althouse across the screen in Animatrix, the clock face that has my exact birthday on it, you know, like this one right here, my exact birthday in Animatrix, that they didn't get it in its time. Yes, future generations, we live at this point, Steve and I, with idiots. But you are
Yeah,
smart. You're very smart. And that's why we're doing this video. So let these generations not watch, but watch what the future generations do.
I
They'll know
really,
that we did this. There you go.
I try to really understand why we're going through what we are right now. I think a big part of it is all of the food that people are being fed. That's really don't. I mean the pineal gland calcifying from all of the bad food. That's been something I've heard repeated over and over again. Our brain power is not being maximized. Everybody's being told to be passive, to let things go. Don't let people get angry. Just
Well,
just de-escalate everything. Period.
spraying in the skies is going on, and you got that happening. But really, there's no excuse for anyone in our generations, the three generations. No excuse, because you could choose to do it right. Now, what's killing our society is arrogance, the
Yeah,
ego, the need to be important. What about me? What's in it for me?
and the need to be
That's what's
right.
killing. Yeah, that's what's killing our society.
I
And
see
so
all these
that's why,
people at the board meetings that I watch. They're like, I'm my opinion is the best, and everybody who disagrees with me are subhuman. They have a word for it too, but I'm not going to use
right.
it.
Well, for
But yeah,
yeah, for future generations too, I'm saying that I have the 17 other screenplays, and it's not for this time. This is a dumb time. This is Dark Ages. It's for the future. So I'm glad that that'll be released in the future to future generations because
can you
they're not
can
gonna
you
figure it out.
share
All
with
these,
us what was I'm making this comparison, and I don't care what anybody thinks of it. At the time of William Shakespeare, how was he portrayed while he was living?
right, right,
He was like he was basically illustrated as a leper almost,
right.
right?
Well, the critics, there was critics in LA that this one guy in LA that did about the domestics, which is greenlighted off Broadway, my one play. He said it's like Shakespeare and Mozart, you know, and it's that's what he compared me to. And it's like I'm not trying to toot a horn because it's not doesn't take much to be high level in this society. It
Well,
doesn't take
it's
much at all.
you can take away the names of William Shakespeare, but like his situation of where he wrote these works and nobody respected him at the time he was living. And then it took what 300-400 years before,
Yeah,
like literally, it took that long before people were like,
yeah.
hey, this shit's pretty good. Like,
Well, it's what
hey,
when you think about it, Stephen. My biggest fans, if you call it like Sophia Stewart says, whatever, are the ones that are inside Hollywood that know about the theft. The ones from the
the
studios,
ones that are
Disney,
already compromised.
Disney, right? Disney execs that call me that trying to get me to sell out. They're my biggest fans. The attorneys, even that ripped it off, would take a break and go, "You're actually a really cool guy. It's amazing what you wrote."
All
So
right,
I am considered gifted genius in that. And then what happens if I'm tested as gifted genius? My sister tears up the diagnosis after she's been bought. So it's like, anyway, so that's why we're being very calm right now and just like enjoy life because future generations are going to get it. And if arrogance is such the big thing in this time, they're going to be laughed at by future generations. Joel Silver, Spielberg, all the rest of them. It doesn't matter how much they try to gild their legacy. They're gonna look like idiots in the future. And it's like, and one of the big things that even TMZ, which is owned by Warner Brothers, one correspondent said, like I said, if you're smart enough to write the Matrix, Tom, you're smart enough to follow the trail. In the future, they'll get that. So I'm happy, but I'm certainly not going to release my material to this time. They don't deserve it. It's like they don't deserve it. They deserve Beavis and Butthead, and they deserve Keanu Reeves doing that thing where he plays the drooling idiot. They deserve that. They deserve the Wachowskis' work and simplistic, nonsensical IQ of two material. That's what public deserves right now in this time. Be it the spraying of the skies or the food or whatever. That's our world. I don't fit in this world. I've been told that by the studios. and you don't
It's
either.
like
We don't fit in this world.
all
It's so
these
dumb.
TV shows. Like I never got into The Office. I never got into Game of Thrones.
Everything's like at a level of 1 to 10, they're one.
I
And
never watched The Hunger Games.
Hunger Games is a rip off of the work too. Hunger Games is ripped off right from the Immortals, and you got the
I never watched the
um
last two Hobbit movies.
yeah
I
the
watched all Lord of the Rings, but you know.
yeah Hunger Games is right from the stadium scene and the train station scene from the Immortals, and that's where they got it, and they give it to that lady, and then it's taught in the schools that it comes from this lady. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's right from our work. It came out right after our work was submitted to Warner Brothers. And then Harry Potter franchise also. Warner Brothers attorneys tried to cite it against me and Lord of the Rings because they drew from our work and added it to Tolkien's work, just like they did to Men in the High Castle and Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
So like
But
they added.
Harry Potter and Star Wars have both been confirmed to have used the book The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So it goes like they have like their own thing where
They draw from everything
they're cookie cuttering this one thousand face story for all these main franchises. It's the same stuff.
And the
Hagrid and Dumbledore and Obi-Wan, like they're all the same thing.
Well,
they're all the same thing.
That material is handed out at Disney, and otherwise, yes, required reading. But then you get my material, the Immortals, and they want to take that, but they're drawing from their prescribed material and adding it to it. So of course, the Thousand Faces will be involved because that's their Bible.
They probably looked at your script as an adrenaline shot to whatever junk they're shooting up to begin with.
Look at Bonaventura. What's Bonaventura's reaction at the pitch session? He's blown away. All these 190 plus concepts never considered before. How did you come up with this? This is revolutionary. We're making this. I'll tell you what. Then he goes and brags at a bank in Albany after the pitch session. He was in town doing Analyze This with Robert De Niro. He wants Robert De Niro to be the lead. He is blown away by the work. And they thought everything was done under the sun, including 1,000 Faces. They thought everything was done under the sun. So when the Immortals comes along, if you get the picture of this, all this new stuff never thought of before, robot like agents, Jacks the Neck, One World Society, Little Train Station, all that stuff, Squiddies, the fight sequences, the battle sequences, Joel Silverlove, never before seen. So that was something that they were blown away after 1,000 Faces. They thought with 1,000 Faces, everything's been done. This shook them up. Bonaventura was blown away at the pitch session.
Yeah, so we're thinking on the same lines here with what they probably did. They viewed your script as like that. It's an extra shot, like an espresso. That's all they saw to them. But like the last cup of espresso, they don't have it. They don't have the beans to make more. And that's why they're like obsessing over it so much.
Look at the strategy. What they do. Their idea was to get credit for the imagery and the ideas and the tech. Things that had never seen before. They want to be the first to have credit for it. That's why all those studios it was like a gold rush. So the Wachowskis are lifting the images they think are cool in that storyboard.
It's kind of sad if you go and look at late 90s through mid 2000s. That's all you see are robot computer type of movies.
But they were so blown away by the
material. Plus the Millennium stuff happening and them threatening that like the computers are all gonna like fry up and turn back to 1970 because of the year 2000 bullshit. I'm trying not to swear, but you know what I mean.
That's right. They were so blown away by the material that they in their simple minds they just latched on to one thing. It's like you handed them this smorgasbord of food, like from Bonaventura's reaction, and they're focused on a red lollipop. And that's all they're going to focus on. And then they want to focus on something else they can get credit for. They simplify it, lifting the liquid mirrors out of the train station scene as security devices and just having Morpheus have Neo put his hand through it.
I think that's really damning evidence for all of them involved, just having the liquid mirrors. Because that's such a unique thing. And I can see how Sophia Stewart's like, I could talk about ILM and the Terminator that's liquid and say that that's part of like what I did. Like, no, that has nothing to do with Sophia Stewart, nothing to do with Terminator 2, nothing with ILM. The liquid mirror thing was separate completely from that, and it was in your script.
Now take it further. Their whole thing was use up the rest of the story. Joel Silver said it on set in 2003 when they're finishing the second and third installment and Animatrix. They're rushing it through. Larry's leaving the set a lot. So use up the rest of the story. He said, we hope we use up the rest of the story. We hope it'll tie together. Now, what's interesting is they go farther. Crunchyroll is from University of Berkeley, right? Students there. And Sony and Warner Brothers control it. American market for Japanese anime. Very smart. So in Darling in the Franxx, what they do, they have the liquid mirrors or the mirror thing there, where they have the girl pulling the main character through, and a piece of his clothing gets cut basically as she pulls him through because he's not in the program. From the Immortals preceding that, which they had at depositions and everything in Discovery, you have Trinity pulling Neo through when he's cut from the program, the liquid mirrors, while distracting the guard with a kiss, pulls him through the liquid mirrors, and a piece of his clothing gets cut off. So they're using up the rest of the story by putting in Darling in the Franxx, Warner Brothers, Sony, with Crunchyroll from University of Berkeley, where the attorneys were from. The attorneys for Warner Brothers from University of Berkeley. Rankin, who's throwing the case, as our attorney, University of Berkeley. Classmates with Linda Burrow and the guy who was the one from Pasadena, the firm Rios, which also University of Berkeley. All defense attorneys. So what you've got is they're using up the rest of the story through their own material. And that's what Joel Silver wanted to do through Oblivion. As soon as the case was thrown, Disney holding on to it. Here you go. Disney provides the honeypot wife. Look at this story. And then he takes her back on my birthday. And then Disney hands Oblivion to Joel Silver only. And he puts the scene he wanted in that was in the Immortals, that the Wachowskis wanted in Matrix, but it's too expensive. Too expensive. So then he puts in everything from the little girl at the end pointing to her daddy. That's rejuvenated. Everything is there.
Just for a heads up for the audience, there was also stadium scene that was used in The Dark Knight Rises. There was also a hospital scene that was used in The Dark Knight, the previous film before that.
Right, there we go.
Both of them were in the Immortals.
Nolan group, right.
And Nolan seems to be ripping off pieces per film. Like they take one element and put it in this film that they're doing over the next year and a half.
That's all.
They take another element. They've been peppering it like that this whole time.
They only can patch it in. They only know how to do patchwork. They don't have to.
But the bulk of it's in what the Wachowskis did, what Spielberg did, and what Nolan did.
Wachowski's got first shot at it, and then that's why it's so interesting. When the case is thrown, they immediately announce Sense8. They do Altered Carbon, Joel Silver does. You've got Oblivion and Elysium with Warner Brothers. So all the defendants do their own take on the work as soon as the case is thrown. And they don't even finish the novels. And what's interesting is, like Oblivion novels just scrapped. But what they do is they get first crack at claiming they came up with these concepts. And they give Elon Musk the tech. Elon Musk didn't create the tech. And then they change the laws at the patent office that you don't have to create it. You just have to claim it first. So, Stephen, you could come up with something great idea like Breaking Bad or an invention like the spillless cup. And Elon Musk goes, oh, Stephen just created the spillless cup. I'll put a spike on the patent. I'll have somebody do it for me. And it's mine now. I claim it. Stephen created it, was the visionary who came up with it. But Elon gets it. So he has a network of people ready to just claim whatever he wants. And they say that he's the father of it. He didn't create Neuralink.
And that's very, you can look that up yourself. Anybody, I'm talking again to the audience, like look up Elon Musk's acquisitions of properties. That's all he does. He's not an inventor.
Right.
He takes
he's a face.
Other ideas and he claims them as his own.
He's a face for laundering, like I was to be the face of Christian Coalition, right? You're just a face that gets all the popularity and rewards, while the studios and the agencies get to take and commandeer whatever they want. So he's the face of the theft laundering machine. He's the face on it smiling. And I want to thank people that get it, that have been following and understand what we're doing, even if your views aren't showing. You are the rare exceptions, and you're the people that we want to work with, are the ones that are actually smart in our time. What better time to be born in than a dumb society? What better time to be born in when the ground is just caveman world? Because you get to actually just think about going back in time and presenting new ideas. Now it's going to be like pulling teeth And it's like you create fire or show how to create fire, and they want to kill you because they want the credit for creating fire. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I made a joke with my family the other day that I'm going to be 50 years from now, I'll be the person teaching people how to read books
Yeah, that's good.
because the skill of reading would have been lost at that point. Like I was joking about it, but something as simple as reading a sentence
Right, right.
might be worth gold in terms of knowledge and
A
helping.
treasured ability, a real skill. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what I'm saying to people that get it, like Roseanne Barr, when she called and said, your story is the greatest story. I've been following it, and what you've gone through, and you never give up, and
You
it is
better
the
do
greatest
something
story.
about. Okay,
But
Roseanne,
but no,
I'm
it's
going to say
okay.
something to Roseanne real quick. Roseanne, say something on public TV that you are aware and know about this.
She
Stop.
will. Yeah.
I'm just going to call her out.
But she
This is
will.
not on Tom, but I'm going to say this to Roseanne. Say something now. What are you waiting for? I've been
She
saying this about the other
yeah.
people,
Well,
the
she said
crew
there.
people.
Right. I appreciate your
Patience. I know
passion,
we need
but
patience,
she
but
said there's a timing involved, and so it's okay. It's okay because she's actually working it, which is great. So it is. But you're doing a bang up job. She's doing a bang up job, and it's like the screenplay. There is timing, but I love your passion for it. It's great, and I think she'd appreciate it too.
we need the passion to move it forward. I don't want to like ruffle feathers, but at this
No.
point, like, are we going to be polite about people trying to kill us?
Well,
No.
that's the interesting thing. They are on the run. Patrick Kelly is doing a segment called "Running for the Hills." He's conditioned around our story, and it's like they are doing desperate moves, like Elon now saying Matrix is bad. That's a desperate move. It's a desperate move. That's what saved his career. It really Elon Musk was saved by the Matrix story, and that's why he's pointing it out now, trying to distance himself for that bridge, that connection. Right? That's why he's calling it bad. How can you say it's bad? I mean, it still carries original mortal material, so it's not going to be. It's basically you can't mess it up.
You'd
You
think
know.
that this is really an elephant in the room with Elon. You'd think he'd
Oh,
be a
his
big fan of the Matrix and be talking
he
about it all
is
the time.
he is, but not a fan of the original creator who holds the copyright. See, well, maybe he is. Maybe he actually does appreciate the
Yeah,
genius behind this.
I was speaking about the Wachowski. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
given the mask he wears in public, that he's
It could bother
why would
him. Yeah, it could bother him that the Wachowski gets so much acclaim, and how he would see audiences or society as being stupid for lifting them up when they failed at everything they did. The answer, what I get from the studios and people inside that contact me from Disney and such, they'll be like, how can people believe this? How can people, even the CIA operative, Lauren Holmberg on Maui at the Mason said, people believe it all. They believe the pancake thing. They believe it all. The towers falling free fall.
I
They
think
can't believe that people believe that.
it would be a much more positive story knowing that nobody died. That
Yeah.
3,000 lives did not perish that day would be great news, a blessing that lives were not taken early that day. Some were. I'll say that some were. But you're telling me an aluminum can crashed into a steel pole like a street light
Yeah.
and it took it down?
Can you hear this?
Yeah, it's really loud.
Yeah. Helicopter.
Oh, there's a helicopter. No,
Yeah.
I don't hear
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
going on. I
Yeah.
heard myself echo
Yeah. Yeah. No, no,
from
helicopter. Yeah. So yeah, that's funny.
so they're
So
circling right now. Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so that's what the
I'm not
agency.
surprised.
Well, it shows. It's so funny for future audiences. They'll get it. They'll be like, "Oh my
So
god,
here,
look at all the pieces," and they'll wonder why nobody understood what was going on. You
I
know.
can get anxious with like not having things happen right away and my impatience shows. But we need that I think here we have compassion that the other side does not. They have this fake compassion of we need to help everybody. Now give me your money. Like with Rock and Oprah. They have money to help themselves. They can take all of their wealth and say, we're rebuilding Maui on our own. Screw the federal government. But no, they're not. They're part of the federal government. So
There's a whole
they're
plan
not
in
going to do
place,
anything.
right? But
So
anyway, yeah.
since we're talking about Maui now, I just want to jump over to The Rock real quick because I do have him on our thumbnail for today. But he ended up he ended up doing nothing for Maui, right? We haven't heard anything from him and Oprah.
Right, right. It seems like the publicity wave is over.
Okay.
So,
So he went on Twitter the other week and he explained what I was suspecting the whole time is that he bought a major part of UFC and the WWE, and he is the main reason for the Netflix deal being struck. And it was
uh-huh.
$5 billion. But he essentially said that he sold his soul. So let's go, and then it's I can't make this up because after I came up with this theory that he sold his soul, then the crowd the following night was chanting, "You sold out, you sold out." So we're gonna
Wow.
look at these two clips real quick. It's
Yeah,
probably like three
sure.
minutes.
All right.
But yeah, let me pull this up. So we got Rock here.
Yeah,
I
it
was
looks so
just
good. Can't hear it though.
oh, you can't hear it.
No, not yet.
Eh, okay, so I need
Maybe it's
to
the
adjust
headphones.
this. No, I think it is a setting in here, so I'm gonna have to switch it real quick.
You're going to see a lot of celebrities switch up also and start to last minute coattail reveal corruption. And that's a way to try to, after profiting off the corruption, being part of it, they're going to try to swing and say, we're revealing it. But the door's closing on the believability of, okay, you were there to do good. You benefited so much, these people, from doing the crimes and being part of this system in Hollywood and the agencies. And now they're going to try to, they see that things are starting to be revealed. So they're going to try to slip through and say, hey, we're revealing it. Look what happened over here. We're the good guys. That's happening now. And I think that's part of Elon Musk going, Matrix was bad. He's trying to set the groundwork where he can say, I actually was one of the good guys. I didn't agree with this stuff. Right. So it gives them leverage and options, sort of like Braun getting out of um, World War II Germany at the end of the, when Nazis are collapsing, and he makes a deal with the government on a paperclip. So you're going to see this paperclip thing happening where it's actually what people don't realize. It's like they say, like, well, the government took them in. These guys are wanting the American government to take them in. So it's like they're saying, please take us. We're going to see a lot of refugees from Hollywood, and the agencies start to go, agency second, that'll be like, we're actually the good guys. We want to help you. Here's what's going on. We're going to reveal it. And they were, what, decades involved in the corruption and exploitations. So do they get a free out of jail card? Or do they get prosecuted for the crimes they did, even though they're pretending that they're helping and being good in the end? There's a question that's going to be in the future. So future audiences already know the answer. It's fun. It's fun conceptualizing and knowing that future audiences are going to see this and they'll know the facts. And so I already feel that already. I already feel like they're lifting us and going, well done. That's a gift to have that experience, that your work was not in vain. And people actually, it means more because of the time we're in and the people we're around. Kudos to those that get it. They're few and far between in our time, but in
Yeah,
future, God bless them all in the future.
there.
It's gonna be a better time. They'll know.
It's not like we're abandoning everybody who can't follow 100%, but
No,
I mean
no.
we have stuff to talk about.
If even
So if
somebody
you
gets that
can't,
inkling, yeah,
even if you watch it later, watch it a year from now, and you
yeah.
figure out more doing it that way, then so be it. But
Just
like,
don't believe what the cabal tells you. That's it. Don't believe what the cabal tells you, and
not a
don't believe they
word.
spoon feed it.
So
Use your gut.
the reason I mean, part of the reason why I watch pro wrestling is because I know it is to entertain. There's no Pete Rose.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody throwing a competition. I know what I'm in for when I'm watching pro wrestling. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have something as real as a boardroom that deals with money and shares of stock. And this guy comes up and is like, he's the biggest star of the last 20 years. And he's like, hey, I'm going to insert myself in the main event. And then the whole crowd turns on him and he has to switch up his whole shtick. Now he's being the bad guy now. Mm-hmm. But look at what he says here. It's probably not going to play the audio for you, but he has the stuff on here.
Right.
He sold his soul. He's locked in for life. He bows to TKO and Netflix, but he also kind of owns TKO now. And he owns the XFL, which I don't even think he's going to do anything with it. He's trying to run for office. I know he's trying to do something with that. And
so what's he pointing out here? What's up? What's going on here?
he was saying, sorry. Hold up. So Dwayne is saying that the boardroom decision of the Netflix deal for 5 years for $5 billion with TKO and UFC and the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
The deal was signed because The Rock's manager said that The Rock is signed with TKO for life, and that they own all of his catchphrases and everything. But that he comes. This was like last week, a week and a half ago. But just a few days ago, he's like, I got all my names. Like he has all of his phrases and everything copyrighted under himself. So it's like he got almost total ownership of the company he used to work for. And now he owns everything he said on that show. And he thinks he's the biggest entertainer in the world today. I wasn't going to just say Hollywood. They say this on Monday Night Raw. And if you don't know this, Monday Night Raw is the longest running continuous television show in history.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they have a deal with Netflix, who is working with the Obamas, who
and Warner Brothers.
President Obama made propaganda legal. Who's to say that The Rock's not going to be bankrolled to run for president through Netflix and Obama? That's what I'm saying.
Very, very possible.
Because he has the Oprah backing. He has the Maui stuff. He can cry about Maui. Fake tears. Mm-hmm. Because he grew up on the islands, but he's from Memphis, Tennessee. He grew up there.
Right.
Like in his teenage years, he was in Memphis.
Yeah.
So
my son was born on Maui, grew up on Maui, and then we had to get out of there. So yeah, right before everything happened.
Where did you like living the most? Or is it? I'd say it's currently where you're at now because you're the safest.
Yeah, I love it here. I really do. So it's interesting because I was saying how we wanted to go to Greece at some point too, and then Tom Hanks is going to Greece. It's like, oh. So anyway, yeah, it's like Tom Hanks and I are linked. There's no way to get away from it. It's like bad brother. And, like Tom Hanks was supposed to be my mentor when I was in Hollywood in 96. Tom Hanks is the one that claims creating my work after my copyright, commissioned by Warner Brothers and HBO, as we saw. Tom Hanks is the one that's in Cloud Atlas working with the Wachowskis. Larry, as you pointed out, Larry claims a best friend. Tom Hanks is just like attached to the hip in my situation, and it was supposed to be my mentor. It's like, wow. And it's interesting because we're considered really likable. That's how we were approached by directors and such. And they said, like, audience is going to love you. They're going to like you. They're going to say you're such a nice guy. And they're using Tom Hanks. It's like the evil twin. I got this cold.
God bless you.
Anyway, yeah.
Did the helicopter leave the area?
It's now gone.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah. But anyway, so what I'm feeling about too is that for future generations, this is here. I'm very excited about that. And I want to thank them for getting it, for looking at evidence and using critical thinking.
Yeah.
I really want to thank them from this period now. It's like we're in a submarine that's been sunk on the bottom. and just through injustice and cruelty and the loss of my sons and everything. And for future generations, I would want to say, I feel it. I feel it at this point right now, here in the future. The loss is undescribable. And that's what they mock in Game of Thrones and everything else. They'll be able to see this. You can call it up with a thought in the future. And it's like in the future also, you'll be able to feel the feelings that we feel. That technology is there. So you'll be able to feel what I'm feeling. And but the idea that Aiden said is never give up. And Stephen, you sure showed that, never give up. If anybody, you and Aiden both showed that, never give up. And it's like that holds the future. And I would say to future audiences too right now, besides never give up, don't ever let this happen again to a society. Don't ever let morons like, Keanu Reeves and Elon Musk and Joel Silver and the Wachowskis and Kate Chilton and attorneys like Rankin and Solhole and Burroughs. Don't ever let them get that control of power again.
Where do you think that
So,
this started? Because Edison made the motion picture camera. He banned smut and pornographic motion picture, and that's why it moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. Like that's the history of it. So where do you think all of this started, like being corrupted from just a form of entertainment to pure on mind control and trying to get people to
well,
consume in a certain way?
look at Disney's viewpoint and Warner Bros. Viewpoint that they told me on tape, even on calls. They said that it's all about power. Really, it's the ideology and the thought process. If people actually believe it's all about power, and then they go and pull people in, like they tried to offer me to do it, and they'll destroy you if you don't take it. That's in the interrogation scene, the first scene I wrote, the first scene they shot. So really, it's the mindset that's been accepted by society that it's all about power. It's not. It's not. It's about compassion. It's about service. It's about faith. Really, it's about that which makes our lives rich and what counts. And that's what's in the original work. And people, when they watch the original work, which believe me, Elon doesn't want that being made, and the Wachowskis don't want that being made. Chilton doesn't want that being made. The exec who's just the top criminal who handled Elon Musk.
If it pops up on IMDb, what are
They
they going to
they
do?
don't they well they don't want this being seen, and they're going to try to destroy view counts and things like that. They'll try to get it out of theaters. They'll try to ban it and say it's misinformation. Or Sophia Stewart said they're going to put an injunction. She threatened they're going to put an injunction because of the matchups. So they have to try to. That's why they were trying to destroy every script they had by the Planet Attorneys, every draft of ours where it was pre 1996. See, because then they could say, "Oh, well, we created it first." No, you didn't. We got the drafts from early on. We got the floppy disks and everything still.
We yeah,
So
we got pre 93
that's right.
Matrix TV series.
That's right. So that's why they're trying to. That's probably why they did that. They're
They
trying to
stole, yeah,
claim.
they borrowed the title from the Carrie Ann Moss project. They're so
That's right.
unoriginal. That's exactly what
Well,
they
they
did.
they feel that they think that audiences will go, "Hey, it was done in '93 when Tom submitted." Look, but it wasn't Matrix. There was no title of the Matrix trilogy work in 1996 until 1996, and so
No,
1993, The
when
Immortals.
yeah,
But that's the important point: is that Tom Hanks is on the Immortals thing commissioned by Warner Bros. Is very, very important because we have the 1993 entry of the Immortals, and we predate his 1998 claim. You know, they're so stupid that they went so far to make it so clear. Future audiences will understand this. June 25th, 1998. Well, June 25th, 1993 is a submission letter. Why are they putting so many clues straightforward right in the face of the theft? You know, so Gary Klausner to put with prejudice for them, that's the most stupidest thing you could do. That was his legacy is ruined in the future. He probably doesn't be able to think that far. And Rankin, the supplied attorney, is saying that he's the worst pick. He's the worst pick. Now, in Game of Thrones, they have this statement. It's really cool. Sir Hugh, the knight that's killed after he kills this advisor for the king, King Robert. They ask, well, how did he end up fighting the mountain in the tournament? They said, well, they are all to draw straws. And so Stark says, Well, who holds the straws? That's exactly what happened with Gary Klausner. Rankin was bragging that Gary Klausner was picked, the worst pick, he said, the worst possible pick for a judge, because he was put there. He's assigned there. And if they don't get their way, as in Avatar in our case, they'll bring another judge in at the crucial moment. Judge Tro was responsible for Larry Wachowski's divorce hearing, and or trial case. And he was assigned to me at first, originally, with the Matrix case. Then, as soon as they lost their chance for summary judgment initially, Tro resigns from the case, and they're looking for another guy. So Tro was there to cover it up as the worst pick, right? And they picked Klausner in there first too. Now in Avatar, they did the same thing. They had a judge there, and then they replaced her. In my divorce case, they had a judge there in Seattle, Washington, or Washington, Spokane, Washington, and they replaced that with the classmate of the attorney. So what they did was they just moved judges around. There is no random pick, and Game of Thrones makes that clear. Game of Thrones, that interesting too. In Game of Thrones, commissioned by Warner Brothers to be written, they have the Mountain, right? Get this, the Mountain is my nickname from Central West, Neo's school in the interrogation scene. Neo's high school, right, or school. Mm-hmm. So the Mountain was my nickname, and they have Mountain is Sir Gregory. Gregory is my friend I submitted my work with and worked on the battle sequence with. Now, get this. In Matrix 1, when it's done, the Wachowskis are told they need to do 2 and do 2, right? They didn't count on that. So they try to write Matrix 2, but they can't do it. It's terrible. But in it, they had to scrap it and go back to my work. So in it, it has nothing to do with Matrix 1, basically, except Neo's in it and Trinity. It opens with Trinity on the back of a motorcycle with Neo, and it disintegrates in the air, and it looks like they're still riding through the air as it disintegrates. What the hell? And so what happens is you've got even the attorneys for Warner Brothers. So there's no working drafts, no other scripts, because they're so embarrassed about this attempt by the Wachowskis for Matrix 2. And so what they did, they had to scrap it and put everybody behind budget or behind schedule.
It's almost.
But in it, well, yeah, there's one
go.
Oh, so it's all right. That's right. Sorry about that. Well, here's the point. Remember Mountain and Gregory in Game of Thrones? Why they have Mountain and Gregory tied together? Because it's me and my friend who wrote the battle sequences with me. So in Matrix 2, what did they do, Stephen? And thanks for letting me get this in. They have Neo is fighting a clone of himself, basically, that the Smiths made. And what do you think that clone's name is, that this is the evil Neo? Who's the evil Neo trained by Smith? Take a guess his name. We have Mountain and Gregory. Greg is who did the battle sequences with me for Matrix. Helped me with that, which Joel Silver loved. So
I was going to guess Bane.
Well, here we go. So the clone of Neo and their attempt in Matrix 2, which their attorneys don't even want to even admit, is Gregory. So again, my friend Gregory is tied to me. Thomas
so this isn't even conjecture. This is stuff. This is like documented. You met these people. These were their names, and then their names appeared this way in this other work by the Wachowskis.
In Matrix 2 project, where they're mocking the author, right? They thought there's the last chance to do it at that time. And Game of Thrones, commissioned by Warner Bros. HBO and Warner Bros. HBO is on Tom Hanks' copyright, as we said, ordered and commissioned by HBO and Warner Brothers, Time Warner. So HBO does Game of Thrones to mock the original author. That's when they give it to J.R. Martin, whatever, to give credit for him. But it's a team of writers from them. So here's the point. You got Mountain and Gregory in there. You got King Tomlin, who commits suicide because he's too nice. King Tomlin, who's supposed to commit suicide. Hauled off on that. You got the redheaded queen, Cersei, where it's tied into the honeypot wife, because the honeypot wife is from Modesto, which is right next to Ceres or whatever it is. So you've got the redheaded queen that tears up the documents, like my sister did when she was bought. You've got her incest relationship with Jamie, her brother, which she's got an incest relationship with my brother Jack. Jim is the main character name. On and on we go. Here we go too. Get this one. We throw in that Tyrion Lannister gets married to a young girl after a rape attempt, that Jamie fights off the rapist. Tyrion gets married to her, falls in love with this girl when he's young, 16 or so, and marries her. His dad has her have sex with all her soldiers as a prostitute, and Tyrion's forced to watch. It drives Tyrion mad in the end, where on the stand he says he wishes he could kill them all to the public. Now, at the court. Now, what I just told you, what happened in real life? Just like Tyrion, Disney, with Mike Lang, provides Becca Northcutt from Modesto, California, with a criminal record, ex-con, for prostitution and breaking and entering and other things. They provide her to be my wife. And in the end, when the case is finally thrown, Mike Lang from Southern California, Miramax Films, Disney, takes Becca to bed to sleep with the author, to have sex with the author, the wife, to let him know. And in the emails you see on the birthday of the author, on 2016, when the case is fully thrown, my son loses his mom. The last thing we did was her records were expunged as a family. And there's a series of emails from Mike Lang, Harvey Weinstein's boss, at Zion, saying, Becca, move in with me for 60 days to the mistress pad at the most expensive historic property he bought in Spokane, Washington. So what you have is Tyrion Lannister watching his wife get raped by Disney's main exec, Mike Lang, bragging about it in emails and on a taped call with me, with her there. And he was the one put in place in 1993 as executive in charge of strategy for acquisition of intellectual property. And Miramax is formed as the library for Disney.
And while this was going on, you were doing the directing for live theater, correct?
Yes. Now get this. What we have here is the Game of Thrones was simply a way to mock the author, but it made a fortune. And it has everything from, even the eyes opening like this over and over again, the startling music stuff.
Yeah.
It's got the femme fatale, where the main character, the Trinity character, where they have this elfish woman in the cave, when the library of memories, the tree of memories. They've got where she's there holding the grenade, where these moronic zombies are running all over her, White Walkers, and then she waits the last second like this and lets it explode, which is from our movie. So using up the story in that, and J.R. Martin is a schmuck, just like
Dude, if
Elon
you've
Musk.
ever watched him in an interview, like he goes on a late night talk show,
He's a greasy mess.
That's putting it lightly. Yeah.
He's a scumbag. Later, he'll be caught for pedophile child charges. Guarantee. I mean, it's no brainer. Watch it. This man was a nobody who was promoted in-house as an in-house employee for HBO and Warner Bros. So it's like
J.R.R. Martin sits in his room, pitch black, and who knows what he puts on his hard drives, but it'll be revealed eventually, right?
He was like the Wachowskis that failed at everything and became famous by stealing the work. And so his job was to mock the author as much as possible with his own work, and it became the biggest hit. See? And then all the names in there are there for a reason. All these different names. I mean, Mountain and Gregory, King Tomlin, it's like, really? Seriously? Oh, they got this one too. You ready for this? This is great. King Robert is with, now that you know this, King Robert is with Stark, right? Ned Stark. And they're going to head down to the capital. He needs him to be the hand of the king. So early on, they're going to do this one. Get this one. Are you ready for this? He's sitting there having lunch out there, and he's like, what was your first? Who was your first girl you were with? Are you ready for the answer?
Becca.
What was her name? What was her name, Robert said. What was her name? Becca with the big tits. Becca was my honeypot wife with the big tits.
What am I to say?
I would like
These
to leave
people
it
are,
at that. I would like to
yeah,
leave it at that.
these people are sick. This is all they think about too, by the way. The 24/7.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I love it. Yeah. But see, they have no intelligence. They have no creativity. They were the ones
Because
like Disney.
they zap their brain, they zap their life force, and then nothing
Disney, right,
happens.
right. Disney executive even said everything's been done in the sun. How do we know you have more? I said, of course I had more. Show us, show us. Not if anything happens to my last surviving son.
This
So
is
yeah,
a no. This is warfare for sure. They're trying to
football chess
throw.
game.
They tried to throw you off accomplishing what you wanted to do by keeping you distracted with women.
What they
Right?
don't, you're right. That's exactly right. And what's interesting is they don't understand that we are addressing, like the piece was originally written. When this was originally written, it was a whisper through art for audiences in the future. I didn't think audiences would get this. They'd be able to handle it, the tech and everything else. You know what? I was right. And the studios at Warner Brothers, you know what they said when the Wachowskis were in front of them and Joel Silver? They said this: "We know we have something cool, but we don't understand it. Can you explain it to us?" Wachowskis couldn't explain it, so Joel Silver tried, and he couldn't do it. And he got it wrong. Robots in the program. No, Joel Silver, it's robot-like
It's
agents.
Ghost in the Machine,
And
man.
that's who Joel Silver commissioned, the director of Ghost in the Shell, to launder the work. And all he did was create diagrams. Yes, we're saying the same stuff. Yes, our stories are consistent over the decades. Yes, we'll continue the story of truth because the people in the future will understand that we were telling the truth and applaud that we were consistent.
That
So,
that
thank you.
graphic novel, which became an anime, Ghost in the
Yeah.
Shell, that was
Yeah.
a scapegoat that was
It
tried to be
was,
used on you as a hey, you
it
watched
was,
this at some point in your life, right?
yes. Well, that's why Rankin, the supplied attorney with suspended license, classmate of Burroughs and Rios, that's why he said the first thing we need to do after he solicited me to be his client, we need to watch Ghost in the Shell. Why, Rankin? Why do we need to watch Ghost in the Shell? You need to watch Ghost in the Shell first. Because his cronies at Disney and Warner Brothers said, have him watch it first, do exactly what you said, Steve.
They need their alibi.
They wanted their alibi. And that's why Oblivion, the novel, was being written. And Joel Silver said, we don't need to finish it after the case was thrown. They didn't need to finish it. Out came Oblivion without the novel ever being finished.
And
It's a
then the poor
no-brainer in
guy
the
that made
future.
there was another uh, writer that made that movie Dark City. I'm sure that was ripped off
Mm-hmm.
by the Wachowskis
Our
too.
stuff was thrown into that also.
They looked at a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff that they thought looked cool. As you've said many times before, they made a collage out of it. It's called the Matrix franchise.
That's why there's a visual storyboard that's 600 pages long of all the images they want to lift. That's why in Animatrix, on set when 2 and 3 is being finished with Larry out having screwing his dominatrix and cheating on his wife, what you have is Animatrix is sticking in all the material that was all the images that they wanted to lift and get credit for from the storyboard that weren't used as they made up the story as they went along in the 3 parts. So they then made Animatrix shorts to use up the different parts that weren't used, like dropping from the sky and landing just before the earth and the nosebleeds. And the
Their
rope.
story didn't even stick with that one. You want to know
Yeah.
what I was told and read up on and stuff? They had a deal with Warner Brothers for either 2 sequels or 1 prequel and 1 sequel. And they decided, "Oh, we'll make 2 sequels." But then somehow the Animatrix got involved and
to
they got the
use
prequels anyway.
to use up the rest of the story. Warner Bros. Agreed. Remember, Joel Silver said that. If you look at the article from 2003, we hope we used up the rest of the story, he said at the end of the shooting. You would know from the script if you used up the story, but not if you're working off the other script, like Paul Martin said.
Hey, look at
Was
this. There's page 53 from our Matrix script. We forgot to add it into the production. Oops.
right.
That's
So what
not
you
what
have
happened.
is
That's not what
So
happened at all.
they wrote this. They wrote their version of the Matrix after they shot it. And again, that's why the actors are talking so
Transcribe.
slow. That's why the actors are talking so slow. Now look at again. Let's review. Look at Morpheus, and look at Smith. The characters talking. All right. So what are
It's
they
like a
doing?
therapy session.
What are the actors talking? Yeah, they're going like
When you look
really
at it,
slow.
what do you feel? What do you
Well,
see?
even slower.
How
They're
does it
like,
make you feel, Neo?
right. They're like, well, we have come to the conclusion because they don't know. They're not going off a script. They're making it up.
It was like William Shatner. How do I speak this line?
right. So anyway, so what we're saying is that
So
they
yes,
made it up.
this is a perfect segue. So William Shatner really can't act. his deliver in my opinion, he can't deliver the lines the way they should like naturally be, and he kind of has his own style at this point.
Right, which caught on. It was
Yeah,
iconic.
yeah, he's known for the way he speaks, and I guess that's if you're looking
Same
to
thing with
have eyes
Hugo.
on you. That's
Well,
yes.
Hugo, the way he did it was he had to make it up as he went along. And
He became Agent Smith. God bless you.
well, he's doing it right from the screenplay, the description of the character of Smith. Moves with a calculated grace, meticulously groomed. He did the first idea and take off that description he saw on set within the 20 feet he was allowed with that moment. And so the Wachowski said, keep it, keep it, keep that. He wasn't able to develop the character further, and it became this. It was something he wasn't excited about, but it was something he could be mocked for. But it became iconic. Audiences aren't that smart those days, and so they accepted that. But actually, it was embarrassing for the actor Hugo because he wasn't allowed to develop his character. The Wachowskis in their simple pea brains went, keep that, do it just like that, keep that. Well, he was simply going off the Immortals description, but he wasn't able to develop it further.
Like the just as an example to show how wasteful Hollywood is, that the second and third Matrix films had this whole makeup department trying to recreate Hugo Weaving's hairline, like to keep it like the continuity. I don't know how fast this guy was losing hair. I lost my hair over 2 years. I'd see people that are still balding, and they've been balding their whole lives. Like people bald at different rates. But Hugo Weaving, he wasn't losing hair that fast. He had the same hairline in Lord of the Rings, but with the sequels, they made a point in the behind the scenes to be like, we made all these dolls. We made all these copies of Hugo Weaving. We had to go and put all the hair plugs into all the dolls for the shots on the bridge and stuff. You know how much money that costs to physically make these props,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and they had
And
money to waste, so they
how
did
much
it.
how much money does it take to do the graphics that we saw with the Tom Park Althouse across the screen? And how
Well,
much
the
money did it take to do
anime,
the
all the anime was probably the cheapest part of the whole production, and
yeah,
they
that
did it
too.
for probably a quarter of the cost because it was animation, and they did it out of house.
Well, they said that it cost a lot with the Matrix. It cost a lot to do the graphics that were, I've been told, that were my,
Oh,
birthday on the
you
clock
know,
and my
I
my
forgot
name
that
across the screen.
it is some of it's CGI and some of it is hand drawn. So it's a little bit, it's a mix up of both of them,
Right. You can
like
tell
as a
mine is
whole.
you can tell mine's hand drawn with the
Oh yeah,
names on it. So yeah.
yeah, what you're talking the detective story one.
Yeah, that one is
Mm-hmm.
clearly drawn. Clearly
So it
drawn.
takes a lot of time,
A
like
lot of
that.
money. A lot of money. You got it. You had to get it right. You had to get the middle name Park in the middle. You had to get Tom on the clocks, the birthdays on the clocks. All those had to be done in. Then you had to alt house and have and you can see where on that graphic too. They had to. Can we put it on the screen?
Yeah, yeah. Hold on, I'll do the
Hold on, 'cause
screen
I want to
share.
describe that real quick since we're on it.
Do you want my screen or
Your
yours?
screen.
Yeah. I thought I had it here. Let me see. Where are you?
If it's not there, I'll do it on mine.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to do it on yours.
All right, let's go to mine. All right, here we go. Check this here. Okay. Screen share. A host disabled participant, so enable it.
Let me see what's going on. I don't know why it keeps on disabling.
Okay.
It's kind of silly.
Tell me when you're set.
Okay, you should be able to do it now.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. So I want to just point out too, whoops, I just lost you. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. What is going on with my screen? All right, I'm having some weird issues here. Hold
Do
on.
you have
Oh, there we go.
any?
I got it. I got it.
Do you have the
Is it?
in Star Trek Into Darkness screenshots too?
Yeah, I do. Some of them.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so here we have the entries with even Owen Patterson, boy, what a jerk. As a school and Central West and Otika's birthday. I can't believe all that. And then you got the clock with the exact birthday and the age on it. And then we go to this one. Okay, so all these things are pretty amazing. So let's blow this up. And what I'm looking at, which fascinates me too, is look at that hand drawn in the back there, the park middle name. They had to squeeze it in there, didn't they? So they're squeezing it in with Tom One Way. See
Yeah,
that goes out the P?
and Mopar is actually, I mean, that's so like specific
How
to
you
like the
put,
automotive industry.
yeah,
And
but
like,
to
why
put,
would you put antique house? Like, this is supposed to be somewhere outside of the U.S. Why not just say so
well, look
with
how
this
they,
stuff?
let's go one thing at a time. You have Park and Tom, first name, middle name. So you extend a line, see that line coming off the P,
Hmm.
to make a Tom one way and reverse the other way as Park.
And I
But
can see that too.
Mopar,
Yeah,
but Mopar is missing a K. So you create a ghost K over here, like a spider, a ghost K. So
like a
Park
sideways.
in the
I can see
middle,
that.
Park in the middle, Tom one way, Tom on the clock, which is just unbelievable. ALT. Now, what's interesting is you can see them going, wait a minute, it's not clear enough. He may not get it.
Yeah,
So have,
people probably are saying some of this is pareidolia, meaning like we're seeing what we want to see, but the antique house is on there.
they can
And
say what
plus, artists can put these types of messages into their work, which is why I
they
said it takes time to draw stuff like
they can say
this.
whatever they can say whatever the hell they want to say. But I am told that this is there for this reason, and you can't
Yeah,
deny it. It can't be
so
denied.
I guess
But
I'm just reiterating that to say that I am confirming here that I don't think it's pareidolia. I don't think it's a trick of the eye. I don't think it's that we're reaching for anything.
not at all.
We're breaking down what we're seeing. And this
Well,
is the
let me
stuff that the studio decided to push out as a
this is
final
a
product.
some points real quick. This is a very, very expensive graphic. Very expensive. Next point. That is Tom right there. Can't be denied. In the contrast, it's done especially with contrast. You
Mm-hmm.
got Park up there, can't be denied. Tom the other way. You got Tom in the middle, and also this. You can hear them basically going, I want to make sure it's clear that the L stands out. He's pointing at the L. The T is the highest contrast dead center of the light and dark area, dead center. Can't miss it. In your mind, you will be drawn to that specifically.
Yeah.
So if you line these up, lift them up, drop them down, it comes in perfect line of Tom Althouse. Lines up perfectly. This is no accident. This is specifically done. So, look at this on the clock over here. You've got on the side here underneath the spooky man hat, you've got 2 and 1 past the 60
Mm-hmm.
backwards. Backwards. So that's also means life in disarray. So these clocks are combinations of 7 2s and backwards 7 2s. This one here has a pointing down to 7. And again, the 59. So what you have is a most amazing, almost overdone. The Wachowskis want to make clear they're hitting hard because they mock the work on set, right? So they want to make sure this will have an effect. So this is overkill. Tom Park Althouse. There's no way around it. It lines up. I don't care what people say. It's right there.
But
Yeah.
I don't
So
care
no
what people
problem.
say either. I was just noticing in the back that the Mopar sign was backwards outside
Yeah.
that window, which
Well,
is
that's the
kind of
thing.
odd.
Well, you know what's wild is originally it's is it not backwards? See, I reversed the
Both,
image. I reversed
well,
the image. So originally the park is straightforward. The park, no park, more park, right. So
there's two
originally,
different.
original in the
There are
original
two different
image,
shots. There's two different Mopar shots, but the this one here is like
I
inverted.
reversed it. I
Okay,
reversed it.
okay,
So you can see Tom. They reversed the image, so it wouldn't
got
be
it.
Tom Park Althouse.
So you could read the
So
antique house thing
in
in the
the
back.
original one, it says park normally. See, so it's
Yeah.
good point to make. Yeah, good point to bring up.
It was a little
So
confusing to see that right now, but it's clear now.
isn't that
So
wild? So yeah, good point. So yeah, so Tom Park Althouse is something where it's inverted, so it's harder to see. Just like they turned the original graphic upside down in the interrogation scene. But see how they're trying to get their licks in? That's the last thing they do is animatrix. So they're going to put Tom Park Althouse across the screen, and they're going to put that clock with the exact birthday on it. See?
It
That's
was
in
always
age.
10-2. So the clocks were, I mean, the industry standard is the V. Yeah,
Smiling hands, they call
10-2.
it. Pleasant looking clock faces. And that way they're not getting rid of, they're not in the way of copyright law. If you move the hands around, you could get someone's birthday on there and it could be a suit possibility, they said. That's why
Yeah.
the clearance department, think in mind, the clearance department is supposed to clear every entry, including that one. How did my exact birthday get on the clock if the clearance department is supposed to check that? And that's why they call it stacking the entries, as Susanna Bolton said, stacking the entries. The directors, the Wachowskis, stack the entries into a graphic so that it'll get by the clearance department. The joke will be made.
Do you have any idea who put the Neo's birthday in there as September 11th?
As you mean March 11th, my fiance's birthday. That
No,
would be the Wachowskis.
Neo's passport expires on September
Oh, that would be the
11th.
Wachowskis too. In the Immortals, I'm talking about a false flag. I was being the face of the Christian Coalition. I knew what was coming. So I said a false flag would create a war, endless war, that they could then suspend powers of the population. I was warning that through art before it came out. The Wachowskis want credit for that. Let me stay. Let me stay on this.
Yeah, go
The
for it. Yeah.
Wachowskis want credit for this. And in the main character, in the original piece, the Immortals, you have the Julie, who represents Robertson, wanting to tell the public that he knows when Armageddon is coming. He wants to take credit for that. So here you have the Wachowskis doing exactly what's in the work, want to take credit for claiming when 9/11 is coming. So they do, because I'm whispering through art that 9/11 is coming. So they put 9/11 right after all my information. My high school birthday, fiance's birthday, all that stuff, my dad's name. Isn't that something? So what that tells you right there, the agencies had it planned, that Hollywood knew it was coming, that the Wachowskis put that in too. They'll brag about anything under the sun if they can get away with it and get credit for it. So they did. Now they're hoping in the future that people will go, wow, that was so clever. But actually, it's really stupid. For future generations, I ask future generations again as they watch this in the future. Was it clever for the Wachowskis to stick that in there, or was it dumb? Was it clever for Gary Klausner, the judge, to rule with prejudice when all that evidence is being blocked and going to be shown in the future, and he wants his legacy intact, promoted by Bush and Robertson, or was it pretty stupid? Of course, it made a lot of people rich. But that's the biggest fear of the opposition is that he would reverse his decision. But he's insulated. Elon Musk.
Like this joke. This guy is going around on Twitter that the platform he owns, and he says, "Wake up and choose violence."
What?
Yeah, at the bottom. Look at the bottom. And
Oh my God.
It's a pun,
Right.
but the
And
role
look at wait,
Elon
stop.
is in.
Don't take that away yet. I want to get a picture of that.
Isn't he trying to like stop the war in the Middle East and shit?
Well,
but then he's advocating violence with a pun.
That's not what's jumping out at me.
Oh, the Deus Ex Machina, yeah.
Which is how they ended Matrix.
Yes, yeah. They had
he's putting he put a Matrix
thing on there. The machine was literally named that.
Elon Musk is so concerned about the Immortals and the tech being claimed back and him being revealed that he's fixated on it. He's losing sleep over it. He is making things constantly that refer to our material and the ripoff version.
So there's
now he's trying to distance from it.
There's 3 references here. The first one is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I have no idea how to play the clarinet. Then the second one is Deus Ex Machina, which is the Matrix Revolutions. Wake up and choose violence. That's just his motto. So I don't know what else to say on that. But I figured that needed to be shown. He's supposed to be like some sort of ambassador for the world, but he's saying wake up and choose violence. But as a pun, holding a violin, you don't play games like that if you have the position that you have. You don't go say F Bezos and that stuff if you're trying to work.
I cannot say enough on how much an idiot Elon Musk is.
He's a blubbering. He's a fool. He's a fool for being on the public stage and saying what he's saying right now.
I can't say enough about how much a loser he is. And it's like in his whole career, everything he is made off of stolen work. In the future, they'll know this, and thank God for the future people. in people in the future.
Yeah,
My thought.
this is content that we're putting together not because it's going to be seen by the people we want it to be seen right now. This is for the record for going
Well,
forward. There's stuff from 2 years
yeah,
ago being watched now, so it's
for
going to take a
for
while.
for future generations, if they want to know what it feels like to be us or me in this time, it feels like garbage. It's the worst time to be, but it's also the most important time to be.
We're
So I
lifting each
choose
other
this,
up
but
through this. Like there's so much working against us at this, but like Google wants me to just give up on making videos completely. Like that's really they don't want me on there. But I'm gonna remain on. I've been on there almost 20
you've
years.
been
It's kind of
amazing.
weird.
You've been amazing. You're like an anomaly. It's like you keep going, and it's like, but just for the future people, it's like it is very stale. It feels like we're in a lower dimension. It doesn't feel stimulating. It just
There's no
feels
engagement.
empty. It's
You'd
just,
figure you'd figure everyone's on their phones or they're on the computer. They want to interact. There's no interaction happening on social media, on posts, on videos. Like I don't see any like we saw on Twitter. No comments, no reshares, no
it's like being,
likes, no
it's like
views.
it's like being cows, and we're part of a cattle herd, and everyone just follows these idiots like Elon Musk, and they put anybody in place, and they follow them, and they'll like them because they want to be liked
Well, the world
and
elite
lift them,
view the rest of us as cattle, right?
right? And so it's
It's
almost like,
sad, but that's why they think they're better than us. Like the stuff they say about everybody else is what they do.
well, this is probably one of those dumbest times in history, and I can't say enough. It's just like if Elon Musk is praised and lifted, then we've got a dumb society.
What do you think?
How can that
What
sit
do you think
through?
is causing the stupidity? And do you think we, as a human species, deserve immortality of the flesh?
Well, I think people want to be liked, and so they generally attach themselves to those whoever Hollywood and the agencies put forward. They are so easy to lead by the nose, and they'll do anything the agencies and Hollywood says. Even those that say they're fighting them are basically following along.
I've had a lot of people I've looked up to over the years that then, I mean, for example, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I was watching him on TV 24 years ago.
What
And
it is
not
is their
he,
PR staff. Really, it's PR staffs and think
he is a
tanks
mouth
that
he
are
is now a
controlling everything.
mouthpiece. Mm-hmm,
Anyway,
mm-hmm.
anyway,
I guess
I
what I'm saying is I had people that they put out on the stage where they wanted people like me to go, oh, I want to be like them, and then have our people we look up to do things that we don't agree with, and it's like, oh, well, what do I do now? Well, just believe in yourself.
well, look at my sister. What has she done? Nothing. She's the lowest rung of her field, and she gets all these rewards and trips and travel. And what does she do? Nothing. And she gets to be on a bill with this operative who's also a congressman, and he tags her as a name on the bill, gives her credit for that, awards, all kinds of stuff. She goes to dinners with Brian Fitzpatrick, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, and is introduced to people. That's what she does, is goes, smiles, and waves. She's introduced to people at dinners. That's all she does, is get introduced to people so that she can get her rewards. She doesn't have a brain in her head. And she is like what Game of Thrones paints her, the redheaded queen. So that's where our society is infiltrated with all these people like my sister and brothers that they haven't earned a place. They simply are given everything if they'll sell out. And Pat Robertson said the same thing. He said, rewards and honors for those that would do what he wanted, which is evil. So we're in the 666 time where people can sell out.
Dwayne Johnson sold out for $5 billion to Netflix. He is now the biggest, longest running TV show in history. He claims to be the most popular entertainment actor right now. He thinks he's the biggest deal. And how did he get what he has today within the past month? It's because he made a deal with money.
Right. And
That all of his personality is now owned by TKO.
And where did Kate Chilton go? She became the head of Netflix. Right after the case was thrown.
And so, what do you think the Obama's involvement is with that? Because they have the production company called Higher Ground, but do you think they have any more pull in Netflix than just that? Like, hey, we're a
Sure.
little
Well,
company.
it's all decided behind closed doors. So yeah, I mean, it's all about the strategy for what they want in place. Which how many times have I been approached and told I'm one of the elite now? You're one of the elite now. Your life is over as you know it. Even Sophia Stewart said that. Lauren Holmberg on Maui, the CIA operative, told me that at the Masons. They all tell you the same narrative. I was told that at Pat Roberts' organization. Your life is over as you know it. You're one of the elite now. Which means, what does it translate to? Easy life, everything handed to you, don't have to work at it, and you will be protected, made a public image, stellar public image. You'll be given stuff, everything. That's the easy life you get if you sell out. Who's not selling out? We haven't sold out, and you can hear echoes in the room. So, anyway, Stephen, thanks for doing this again.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Tom. You are always invited and welcome here. And I mean, we'll keep doing this until
Yeah,
we accomplish what we need to.
we'll do it. And for the future generations, like I said again, for the future,
It's
it's
not
like
gonna.
it'll be worth it.
This is not going to be an infinity series. Like at some
Yeah,
point, like it's that's gonna be it. But I
right.
hope that we have I want Tom to have resolution, complete and total resolution. Please, I want Tom to know that what he is doing and what he's done has not been in vain, and I don't think it will be. But
Mm.
I want you to be able to see that what you're doing. I think you see it already that what you're doing matters. But like it's just more confirmations for you to help move us all along. I guess is what I'm asking for
Right.
from the universe here.
Well, if these main players, what happens is they get older, they get concerned about their legacies. And
Yeah.
hopefully Gary Klausner is going to think about his legacy. Because when people look in the future at what he did, the ruling he enabled, where all these tribal issues were blocked, just one takes it to court.
Well,
And he
they.
allowed them to have summary judgment. Allowed them and with prejudice. It's
Mm.
insanity that he would do that as a conservative, too. Anyway, so hopefully he'll start to think about his legacy and how ridiculous that would look, even if the others are telling him stick to it. Like they screamed at me, "You will not talk to the judge. You'll not talk to the judge. Don't talk to the judge." That's what Rankin screamed, Burroughs, the rest of them screamed. You're not going to talk to the judge, Rios. No one wanted me talking to the judge
Because
because
they were going to
if he
lose.
had half a brain, he would see that this is a dumb move to make to allow this transgender pedophile group to get away with stealing work. Anyway, Stephen, thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse
God
me.
bless you again.
I'm
Man.
sick. So yeah, I'm feeling sick, but very good.
No, it's I know it's they're spraying and stuff, and the weather also changed quite a bit. Like
Well, we
I was
had the
in North
hovering.
Carolina, it was like 60s.
We're
Now
getting
it's
sprayed. I took a video of the spraying going over the jet, buzzing the roof, and it was spraying. So I was dosed. So yeah, I got the red eyes, the watery eyes.
they do
So
that
it's awesome.
here. They've been doing it at all the major cities.
Yeah,
I traveled 8 states like last week.
I
Okay.
was completely healthy last night. So just today. I've been sick a long time. So they're just making
Wow.
sure. Anyway, thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, and I do want to speak with you shortly after we get off the air.
Okay,
So,
very good.
but thank you, Tom, again. I mean, we will keep doing this until we don't have to anymore.
Yeah, right.
But I guess we'll plan for April 6th, which is the first Saturday of next month. It's 4 weeks from now.
Okay,
So if we can pull that off, that'd be awesome. And maybe we'll be sharing the same screen at that point.
that sounds
So
good. Sounds
yeah.
good. All
All
right.
right. So everybody watching, I appreciate all of you. I see that you're out there. I don't see all of you, but we're definitely seeing you that are responding and commenting. And if you're following along,
Well, thanks for
more
being the
power to
smart
you
ones.
guys.
Yeah, thanks for being the smart ones that actually look at evidence because I'll tell you, it's time. And it only a few can turn everything around. And if you're locked onto the truth, that is the key to doing it. So I appreciate y'all. Thanks,
Yeah,
Stephen.
it's my pleasure, Tom. All right, until the next one, as I've always signed off, class dismissed, and it'll be good. All well, what's that saying? Of all something like of all good things, I don't know.
It's all right. Get next time.
Out of all good things, something good will come. There, I'm just made up a quote
All
for
right.
myself. All right, Tommy, take it
All
easy.
right.